Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Brinton Pharmaceuticals, I, Ashwin Kotamkar, welcome you all for this webinar of the day, Early Brain Development, Role of Pediatrician, Challenges to Solutions.
Okay.
For this webinar, we have respected Dr. Suchit Tamboli as the Chief Moderator, panelists Dr. Nitesh Agrawal and Dr. Santosh Nimbalkar. Topic of Dr. Suchit Tamboli for today's webinar is Role of Pediatrician in Supporting Early Brain Development. Panelist Dr. Nitesh Agrawal will speak on brain development during first 1000 days, and Dr. Santosh Nimbalkar have selected the topic Role of Nutrition in Brain Development. Before we start today's webinar, I request Mr. Vijay Christopher, Director, Brinton Pharmaceuticals, to please say a few words.
Thanks, Dr. Ashwin. I was reading an article which said the brain is the only organ which is not fully developed at birth. 90% of the critical brain development happens in the first 5 years of life. We also know beauty is nothing without brain. Hence, proper brain development is very critical. The first 2000 days of a child as born is very important. Good evening, respected members of the medical fraternity. I am Vijay Christopher from Team Brinton. At the outset, I would like to pay my huge respects and regards to all of you, the COVID warriors, who are relentlessly working and protecting us while we are staying safe indoors. Once again, please accept our huge respects and appreciation to all of you. Brinton is very proud and honored to host today's webinar, the topic being Early Brain Development, Role of Pediatricians, Challenges to Solutions. Today, we have a galaxy of eminent stalwarts and international K-worlds amongst us. It's my proud privilege to welcome the chief moderator for this evening, respected Dr. Suchit Tamboli, and eminent panelist, respected Dr. Nitesh Agrawal, and as well as respected Dr. Santosh Nimbalkar. Over to you, Dr. Ashwin.
Thank you, sir. Now, I would like to give a brief introduction of our chief moderator, Dr. Suchit Tamboli. Dr. Suchit Tamboli is the first practicing pediatrician in Maharashtra to be honored PhD from Maharashtra University of Health Sciences. He is National Executive Board member of Central IAP in the year 2017 and 2019. He is Director, Chiranjeev Clinic and Child Development Center, Ahmednagar, Pre-Accredited Hospital, OPD and Child Development Center. He is National Coordinator of Indian Academy of Pediatrics Action Plan Basics of Behavior Module 2019 and 20. He is National Coordinator, Cradle to Crayons Early Intervention 2018 and 19. He is National Convener, Indian Academy of Pediatrics Action Plan 2016 and 17. Development for All Cradle to Crayons and Beyond. He is Chairperson, Government of Maharashtra Disability Certification Committee 2015. Thank you, sir, for accepting our invitation and being a chief moderator for today's webinar.
Thank you very much.
Our panelist for today, Dr. Nitesh Agrawal. He is Director, Neonatology and Pediatrics, Southern Gem Hospitals, Hyderabad, and his area of interest is neonatology and early intervention for optimal outcome. Welcome, Dr. Nitesh Agrawal, for this webinar for the day. Our second panelist for today is Dr. Santosh Nimbalkar. Dr. Santosh Nimbalkar has authored books on clinical management of breastfeeding and parenting from womb to adolescent. He is director of Moria Multi-Speciality Hospital and Child Development Center. He is CEO, late Shri R.M. Nimbalkar Master Charitable Trust, and his key interests are high-risk neonate follow-up, adolescent behavior, lactation medicine, and educational psychology. Thank you so much, all the respected doctors, for accepting our invitation and being the panelist moderator for this today's webinar. Now I request Dr. Suchit Tamboli to please take over the session.
Yes, thank you very much. Now I think we will start our webinar, where most important thing is that our agenda should be like all nurturing our relationship which are built in brain and our future. And the most important part of life is first 5 years. If you change first 5 years, you will change everything. And that happens if we change for first 5 years, we have to concentrate initial first 1000 days from the pregnancy. And now I request Dr. Nitesh to start his presentation on early brain development in first 1000 days. Over to Nitesh.
Thank you, sir. Firstly, I'd like to thank Brinton and Suchit sir for giving me an opportunity to be a part of this panel today. Today, my topic is the introduction topic of this webinar. Primarily, I'll be talking on brain development from conception, not from the day of birth, but from conception until the second birthday. This is considered to be the most crucial part which shapes a life of a child. Again, as I said in the introduction, the first 1000 days, that is from conception to the child's second birthday, offers a unique window of opportunity to shape very well studied. It is now very well understood as it is better implementation. That is the whole idea, whether it is in the form of nutritional, environmental, medical, physical. During this time, it leads to variable degree of delay or deficiency in both physical and mental or cognitive development. Primarily, a lot of studies have focused on the physical maldevelopment, but then the focus of us should also be on how we can enhance the mental or cognitive development of a child. Whenever there is a deficiency in physical and mental development, it has an impact on the overall ability of a child to learn and eventually to perform. And this has an impact on the economy of a country as well. Also, we should understand that physical health concerns such as diabetes, cardiovascular disease, bone disease, and neuropsychiatric disorders have a bearing on health related. The baby is also exposed to environmental factors such as nutrition, toxic and hazardous agents that the mother is exposed to. Also, medical conditions of the mother have an impact on the fetal metabolism, growth, hormonal response, gene expressions, and other variables with an impact on lifelong health. This is called as early developmental programming of adult health. The brain shows a massive change in its structure in the first, I would say, within the first 3 weeks of conception onwards until second year, 2 years of age. The important structures initiated or formed during this time, and then it provides a fulcrum for progressive growth. These structures, primarily the sensory systems, that is the auditory and visual pathways, are the most important components of a child's development. We all know that a child learns by imitating, but child learns by hearing or seeing. And therefore, these are also the earliest most structures that start to develop in the brain or in the neuronal tissue of an embryo. This is followed by the hippocampus, which is where the learning and memory centers are, followed by myelination, and also neurotransmitter formation starts to have an initiation in the first 3 weeks after conception. Even the prefrontal cortex, which is where planning, attention, inhibition, multitasking happens, and brain circuits involved in social development have the onset of rapid development in this first 1000 days. You will hear this again and again from me and from the other panelists as well, because that is the whole crux of this program. If you should just look at the gross weight of a human being at birth, it is around 350 to 380 grams by the end of first year. So a baby's brain or a human being's brain growth slows down, and eventually it starts to taper down as well. The same thing is depicted in this pictorial presentation. Now, is it nature, is it genes, or is it nurture? Is it the environment? There is no give and take here. They have to work dynamically. As we all know, in the first 10 years of life, the brain is twice as active as that of an adult. 60% of a nutrition that a person takes is used by the brain during the first year of life. This decreases to about 30% by the age of 3 years. We do know that genetics have an impact, but also the environment has a massive impact on the development of our brain. Now, there is something which is very important. Now, the WHO says that as many as 200 million children living in developing countries fail to meet their developmental potential. Interventions based on the knowledge of this critical window has the potential to exert a profound global impact. Just a correlation here is made with nutritional deficiency alone. And if we correct just the nutritional deficiency, there is an estimate that the world's intelligence quotient, the children's intelligence quotient would go up by 10 points. So that is a massive change just by one intervention. This is just looking at how the brain grows. I would rather bring out another slide, which will probably explain to us in a little better way. If you should look at the embryonic neuronal development, by the end of 3 weeks of conception, then on the dorsal aspect of a embryo, already the neural plate forms, that is the precursor of the neurological system. And by 4 weeks of conception, this actually rotates on itself, or it converts itself into a tube. So that is the very initial stage of formation of the brain. And you can see how quickly it progresses to form maybe a primitive brain, if you like it. By 3 weeks, then the cephalic most portion of it actually develops into the brain in the form of prosencephalon, mesencephalon, and rhombencephalon. And then very quickly, by 5 weeks, we are actually having a primitive brain in our body. How this happens? All the neuronal multi or pluripotent stem cells within the neuronal tissue in the neural plate undergoes 8 changes. First of all, they multiply in the form of mitosis. Then each cell, whether it is a neuron or a glial cell, has its own definitive function, and they migrate to their specific locations. Then like-minded cells aggregate, they differentiate further. Once the framework is created, now they need to interact with one another in the form of formation of axons and dendrites, which form synapses, and therefore the transmission of the neurological impulse starts to happen. However, this system is overactive, and then it tends to form a lot more connections than they are actually needed. At this stage, the unneeded synapses start to die. There is rearrangement of all the proximal and the distal neuron, so that specific functions are taken up, and eventually myelination happens, which helps in increasing the speed at which there is a transmission of an impulse. If you show the tissues growing, the brain grows at a rate of 250,000 neurons per minute from the 7th week of potential of human brain development. The same thing is highlighted here. By the end of 2nd trimester, in our body, we have got 200 billion neurons, and that gradually comes down for us to have still a large number, that is 100 billion neurons by birth, and that continues to progressively come down. If you look at the connections, by 8 months of a life of a child, there are 1,000 trillion connections, and by 10 years, it is progressively coming down. So you can understand how important it is to maximize the potential of brain in the first 1,000 years. This is just a pictorial depiction of how quickly structures are formed, and then they are also functional. So till here, we had actually discussed by 5 weeks after conception, a primitive brain is formed with a earbud, and that is the cephalic end of the neural tube, and the distal end forms the spinal cord. By 8 weeks, we see the limb buds have come out, but the focus and movement. So it's only the neuronal transmission of impulse which is making limb movement possible by as early as 8 weeks after conception. And by 14 weeks, these movements are now coordinated as well. The hearing, the basics of hearing are laid down by 16 weeks. Sleep-wake cycle is established by 18 weeks. Suck reflex is developed by 19 weeks. Response to sound is created by 23 weeks. And by 26 weeks, a lot of us who are working in NICU see these babies kicking, stretching, and grasping. And the pupillary reaction starts to form by 31 weeks. What I'm trying to highlight is it is not just structural formation, but the functioning has also commenced by this age. The synapses formation and the concept of neuroplasticity. Just now I was telling you that all these multiple junctions, that is the axonal and dendritic junctions, form the synapses. And if you should see progressively, there is more and more formation of these synapses by 2 years. And then the synapses which are not needed, they kind of tend to die down, and the ones which are very specific to a function stay back. This is neuroplasticity, which says that during this part up to the first 2 years, if there are certain pathways which are damaged or diseased as well, then there is so much ability of the remaining dendrites and axons to reform the synapses. And this is just a recap of what we've said so far. The brain goes fastest in the first 5 years. As much as 85% is formed in the first 5 years. And as I said earlier on, it is primarily the sensory stimuli which helps a child to learn. So as you can see, the visual cortex and auditory cortex, they are formed very, very early, within the first month or so. After, or rather, I should say the first year or so, it is already functional. And then that is followed by the prefrontal cortex, which is where memory starts to come in. The same thing is depicted here, but it is also telling us that if you should see the seeing and hearing, the areas, the cortices which are developed are the lowermost components of the brain, that is the visual and auditory cortex, followed by the angular gyrus and Broca's area, which is important for receptive speech. And finally, the higher cognitive functions tend to develop. I think we'll skip this slide. And then the important role of myelination. We all know that the axons are covered by this lipid field or fatty substance, which is called the myelin sheath. And this helps in enhancing the speed with which a transmission of brain growth happens in the 3rd trimester. At 5 months of post-conceptional age, is at a stage where it looks like a walnut, like in an adult brain. At birth, rapidly developing brain areas include the hippocampus and the visual and auditory cortices. In the first year and 2nd year, what happens is there is a rapid growth in the language processing area, as well as early development of prefrontal cortex that will control the higher processing, such as attention, inhibition, and flexibility. The first 1000 days are characterized by rapid rates of synaptogenesis. The factors, I'm sure we will be covering in our next talk as well, but grossly speaking, it's the genes, the environment, nutrition, and the medical health and disease which have an impact on the brain development. If in case these are deprived, this is what happens. A normal looking brain, the volume and the structures within, and then an extremely neglected. And the neglect here is purely of a sensory deprivation. You can see the size and the neuronal structures on the inside. Synaptogenesis and plasticity we just discussed. Thank you here. I would like to again emphasize that first 90% of the child's brain development happens before age 5. Among this as well, as much as the 90% of this 90% happens within the first 2 years of life, or rather the first 2 years post-birth, including the antenatal time of 1 year as well. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Nitesh, for your nice presentation. But as the sometimes the voice quality was not fair for the audience because of internet connection, I think now we'll go to the role of pediatrician, which is very important. And I at the outset I must I forgot to thank Mr. Vijay, as well as Gupta sir and Ashwin and Asif, who has really made it possible. And this is very important that early development we should concentrate. And what is the role of pediatrician? Because pediatrician plays very important role, because the parents come to them for immunization, They come to there for the essential care and advanced care for the low birth weight babies, as well as high risk babies, preterm babies. So screening at family level, whether in family there is some risk factors or there or not, what is the mother's age, father's age, then is there any familial disease or not, leading and linking other provider of the care for your children, supporting development, and support for the timely and appropriate care, which is very important. And nowadays, infectious disease prevention, all of us know that this is a COVID area where we advise them for repeated hand washing, as well as use of mask and social distancing. So this type of infection prevention we have to carry out, and that is very important part of the pediatrician's advice. Then what is the other things you should advise, pediatrician should advise, is integrated management of childhood illnesses. Because not only COVID, because COVID is going to be one of the differential, but all other illnesses are going to be there. So we have to consider them. So maybe COVID with malaria, COVID with typhoid. So all these things we have to think over, and then plan the treatment. Family planning advice is very important. Then health and hygiene education, early detection of disabling condition. You have to identify the children, whether we are going to see that how we can identify early. Then support for the caregivers, like mental health is very important. Advocacy regarding maternal nutrition, prevention of preterm and IUGR baby. How we can prevent at 16 years, if the mother, expectant mother or the adolescent girl, her weight is 45 kg and height is 145 centimeter, then there are chances that she may have normal child if her pregnancy weight increases by 9 to 11 kg in 9 months. So that that child will be 3 kg at birth. So prevention, because we in India face more problem of IUGR babies rather than preterm babies. So it is very important that whatever the problems are there actually regarding the preterm and IUGR, they should be at prevention should be at the adolescents girls level. And then we should also advise for the prevention of mother to child transmission of HIV. Then regarding the social support for the family, as well as the child developmental pediatrician's role is also very important. Breastfeeding, I'm not going to go into the details because as Santosh is going to take that. Complementary feeding guidance also he will cover. And fortification advice and nutrition factors will be taken care by him. The most important I want to stress is that role of father, because I have seen that if father is involved in the child development, then definitely there is a marked difference in the child's development, because only mother cannot do that development part. She needs help from father also. So that is very important factor. And now that's why actually government has advised now 6 months breastfeeding leave for mother, as well as they are giving 15 days leave for the father for the parenting. So that is very important, that they should support mother and take active role in care of the child. Then they should actually identify for the child cues, whether the child is in agony or child is crying due to some uncomfortableness, child wants your talk, the child wants to change the environment. So that type of cues, because many times that we get a call from the parents that in the evening, especially from 6 to 11, and that child is crying, and then they tell us after coming to OPD that अरे आपका बहुत अच्छा ये था, हमने आपको फोन कर दिया और हम ऑटो में बैठ गए तो रोना बंद कर दिया. तो एक्चुअली दैट इज नॉट ड्यू टू द मेरा कुछ उसमें ये नहीं रहता है. उसमें प्रॉब्लम क्या रहता है कि वो सेम एनवायरनमेंट देख के बच्चा बोर हो जाता है, इसलिए उसको आप बाहर निकालते तो ही विल बी हैप्पी. सो क्यूज आइडेंटिफाई करना, रिस्पॉन्सिवनेस, कम्युनिकेशन उनके साथ करना, ये बहुत जरूरी है. So optimal parenting is very important. Age appropriate homemade toys and household objects, ये हम देखने वाले हैं. So that should be there. Storytelling, reading resources, nursery education readiness that we are going to see, and mother tongue should be the instruction method at least till first 3 years of life. That is very important. Gender equality, child safety issues, anticipatory guidance, all these are very important. So actually what pediatrician should know, that principles of development, that continuous, it is a continuous process from conception to maturity. Sequence is same, that is it is cephalocaudal, but rate of development varies from child to child. One field may be greater than other field, intimately related to maturation of nervous system. Certain primitive reflexes have to be lost before corresponding voluntary movement is acquired. Sequence of development must be kept in mind, and corrected age should be used in preterm babies till 2 years of age. So that is very important. So cephalocaudal development, that is first child holds head and then sit and then child stands. So it never happens that child starts first standing and then start holding the neck. So that is very important to know. So what you have to see is that only these 4 things which has been told by Dr. MKC, that social smile at 2 months, hold head steady at 4 months, sits alone at 8 months, stands alone at 12 months, make sure that baby sees, hears and listens. So that is all we can propagate, even mothers club or Anganwadi workers, so that we can identify it early. Because if these 4 milestones are not at that age, then you must suspect something, and parents should take advice from the pediatrician. So that is very important. So early intervention is very important. It is through the neurodevelopmental channel, and prevention of developmental delay is it should be the aim. And development depends on biological inheritance as well as environmental stimulation or learning. And while giving this stimulation, mother is considered as best therapist. मेरे पास एक जैसे अनएजुकेटेड पेरेंट आई थी, तो वो मदर थी, उसने बोला था कि अभी ये उसका हाथ की जो उंगलियां है वो ठीक तरह से मूवमेंट नहीं कर रहा है. तो मैंने उसको बोला कि यहाँ पे आप एक छल्ला लगाओ, छूमा आवाज आएगा तो वो करेगा. फिर उसने बाकी सब किया, और ये उसने खुद छल्ले का जो बात था वो मुझे सिखाया. मतलब जैसे कि उसने फिर हाथ में बॉल दिया, वो दबाने के लिए दिया. So she had added the things. So mother is definitely a best therapist. And age appropriate toys, optimum environment for stimulation when the child is active. नहीं तो बहुत बार क्या होता है कि बहुत डॉक्टर के सामने चलो ABCD बोलो, चलो 1 2 3 4 बोलो, but the child is not ready for that. So that is very important. So the home environment should be taken care. Then preventive strategies like mother should receive iron, folic acid, iodine, zinc. Then the prematurity and IUGR, we have already seen how we can prevent that. So medical intervention, environmental intervention, developmental intervention, and neurosensory intervention should be there. And it should be first 6 months monthly follow-up, then 3 monthly follow-up till 1 year, and then 6 monthly follow-up till 3 years. So that is that should be the way. And what are the tests which we can use? Trivandrum screening test, Denver screening test, which is again very simple. We can use that in 5 minutes of your precious OPD timing. Then Bailey scale of infant development, ABRI scale, which is developed by Dr. Arun Phatak, and that is also very useful test, and it definitely correlates the detailed Bailey scale. Then nursery evaluation screening test by Dr. MKC Nair for 2 to 6 years. 4 to 11 years, we can use Drawman test by Dr. Phatak, senior madam. Then Fambot test, as well as tests which are given in our RS Illingworth book. Then how we can advise regarding the intervention. So what you can do is that for the newborn child, मैं वहां पे जाता हूं तो बोलता हूं कि देखो आपको सिर्फ 4 बातें करनी है. मम्मी को क्या करना है कि जब बच्चा आपकी तरफ देखता है तो आपको आंखों में आंखें डाल के बात करना है, रैटल्स लाके खेलना है, हैंगिंग टॉयज लगाना है, और आपको रेडियो या मोबाइल का ऑडियो सुनाना है तो उसमें सिर्फ गाने सुनाना है, मोबाइल दिखाना नहीं है. So that is the things which they can advise at birth. And then like that we have prepared till 6 years of age what toys to be given, how they can be implemented, considering the gross motor development, fine motor development, then social development, mental development, expressive language, and receptive language. Because these 6 areas are very important from birth till 6 years, and they should be concentrated for the mother. So how we can identify hearing problem? So hearing problem, baby stiffens, blinks, screws up eyes, extend limbs, or cries with a sudden noise. Response to, when baby you clap hand about 12 inches distance. Then child quietens, turns with the widening of eyes, or changes breathing pattern when you shake a rattle or bell up about 6 inches away from the ear. Then again, by 6 months, the child is sensitive to sound and turn his head towards the sound. So this is important, that whether the child can listen or not, that we have to identify by behavioral audiometry, as well as at 6 months you can do BERA, and before that we can screen the child for the hearing. So absence of babbling or cooing at 1 year is definitely a warning. Then no spontaneous vocalization, inability to understand simple commands at 18 months is definitely a warning sign. So then we have to give them stimulation. So stimulation can be in various forms, like face-to-face conversation, making variety of sound, making clear pronunciation of the sounds. So that is again very important. So speech therapy is very important, and using single language, child to talk to child whenever possible, make the child to listen to different sounds, and definitive treatment is speech therapy. Then visual development, again, see what are the simple clues for detecting poor vision. Eye fixation test, window test. Then baby's eye wander from one corner of eye to other, because window test means actually what happens that वो बच्चे को आप विंडो की तरफ ले लो, उसके आंखें खुली रहेंगी तब, और and then you slowly turn towards the darkness of the room, then child will move his eyes. So that is very important. So you have to see whether the child is looking normal or not, whether there is squint or not, whether there is nystagmus or not, where is there is white spot or not, because that is very important for detecting poor vision. Then family history is again very important. If there is any problem in family regarding the visual problems. Squint, usually they say that you need to show after 6 months if it is remains to the pediatric ophthalmologist. And nystagmus also is very important. If it remains after 6 months, then you must take opinion. So ROP screening is important for the premature babies, and it is mandatory for all child who are less than 33 weeks and less than 1500 grams to screen for the ROP. And that is important aspect. Even at NICU discharge, you must tell them that you should go for the ROP screening. And then stimulation techniques, where various stimulation techniques are there. Intervention programs which are available, and Indian standardized programs are Trivandrum Bal Vikas program, which is from 0 to 6 years. Then Upanayan program, this is from Chennai people for mentally retardation children. Then Savan Pradarshika or Portage Education. This is again a fantastic program which is used more than 90 countries, and that the Hindi version is available. Dr. Tehel Kohli from Chandigarh, she has done that. We are using that program, and it is very useful for the parents regarding the developmental stimulation. उसमें कैसे रहता है कि भाषा विकास, स्नायु संचलन विकास, ज्ञानात्मक विकास, इस टाइप का एवरी एरिया इज गिवन, एंड वहां पे जन्म से लेकर 6 साल तक का ऑल डिटेल्स दिया है कि जैसे कि अभी मामा दादा बोलना, आपने क्या करना है 1 2 3 4 5, एंड सहायक खेल सामग्री, तो ये सब दिया हुआ है, and that is very important type of stimulation program we should use. Then learning tree which is prepared by Pune people towards independent series by NIMH, NVM early intervention profile by Dr. Munkar. So all these programs are definitely very good programs. And what we have done in our center is that for the pediatrician, it is very useful that what is the age, what are the stimulation program advice, and what are the common problems and their solution, and what are the age appropriate toys according to that age, and what are the vaccination. So at a glance, suppose 1 month child comes to you, then you can give this shit to them so that they will understand that, okay, this is these are the problems which I can face, and these are the things which I should do. So all these things are made till 3 years in detail, like this is for 1 month, then 2 months. So early stimulation, then what are the problems which are commonly seen, then what are the age appropriate toys, as well as what are the vaccination. So we give such type of sheets to the parents, like 2 months, 3 months, then 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, 7 months. And I think the Indian Academy of Pediatrics has come up with these guidelines, which are very important guidelines, which are published just now in this issue of IAP regarding early intervention. And Dr. Bakul Parekh as well as Dr. Digant Shastri needs salute for that, because they have done a lot of work regarding that, and that has been published for the pediatrician. So I was fortunate to be part of that team. We have done all these things for the pediatrician so that they can in OPD detect early, which is very important part. So say at 10 months, suppose early stimulation is that ball of different size, then dolls, puppet, push and pull toys, rocking toys. Then when baby expresses his anger, divert his attention and be supportive. Baby expresses his joy by performing the rhythmic actions like clapping hand. Family members should participate in child's play. What are the common problems like pica, breath holding spell? So in that you have to treat with iron and zinc. Then stubbornness, you have to just tell them that, okay, stubbornness is common at this age, but how you can handle is that बच्चे को जो चीज चाहिए, देने जैसी हो, करने जैसी हो, तुरंत करो, और ना देने जैसी हो तो बिल्कुल उसकी तरफ ध्यान मत दो, उसका ध्यान दूसरी तरफ बटोरना जरूरी है. तो ये फर्मनेस ऑफ पेरेंटिंग वी शुड टीच देम. थंब सकिंग के लिए अल्टरनेटिव देना चाहिए कि थंब नहीं सक करना है तो क्या करना है. तो उसके लिए ये सब एक्चुअली वी हैव अ big seminar on all these behavioral problems, but important thing I want to stress is that then age appropriate toys and vaccination, which is there or not given. So you have to see that. So this is regarding the stimulation program as well as common problems and age appropriate. Then nowadays this is prepared by Dr. Sandeep Kelkar from Thane, and this is emotional intelligence vaccine or novel psychological vaccine. So where now we are giving vaccine for the children, which is a physical vaccine. But now we have to advise parents regarding the emotional vaccine also. So if we give them emotional vaccine, the growth of the mental growth of the child will be better. So how we can say about that? Say at birth to 6 months, non-verbal emotional communication or development of trust and secure attachment, then emerging socialization, self-soothing. So such type of things we have to explain them in detail for 5 to 10 minutes, and then advice regarding the emotional vaccine, and they should carry on that. So such type of we can prepare a card where physical vaccines are given on the left side, and psychological vaccines are given on the right side. So early brain development, what for first 1000 days, what we need to stress is explore the child's environment, build relationship, cultivate the child's development, and develop parenting confidence. So this is very important. So for school readiness, we'll go into the details afterwards. And what I want to stress is that after climbing the steps of intervention, you will get definitely ray of hope. So thank you very much. And now I request Dr. Santosh to share his presentation on nutrition. Over to you, Dr. Santosh. Santosh, can you unmute yourself? You are mute, Santosh. Santosh, your voice is not audible. Santosh? Huh.
Hello,
Yeah.
yeah. Once I
Yeah.
was
Yes. Now it is audible.
Yeah.
Huh.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Tamboli sir. Once again, I thank Mr. Vijay Gupta sir, Asif, and Ashwin for giving me an opportunity to be a part of this webinar. I think both the speakers have spoken wonderfully. Suchit sir, as I've been with him for many conferences, I know what he's going to speak, and so he's wonderfully put it back. In fact, Nitesh, I think so. Both have done 50% of my job. The rest of the things I'll be covering with nutrition. Okay. Nitesh has spoken very well on the growth and development in initial 1,000 days. So I'll be talking mostly on the nutrition part of it, though there are some slides which are overlapping. Okay, we are going to see some repetitions here, but nonetheless, I'll try to skip and add something more or certain things which they have re-emphasized or reiterate the things which slides which Dr. Suchit and Dr. Nitesh have mentioned. Okay, now as rightly mentioned that the initial brain development has to go hand in hand, or the growth has to go hand in hand with the nutrition part as well as with the stimulation. So sensory stimulation is very important. And see, I'll just take a, I'll give a different outlook or a different view to it. I always have a different view to it. See, the whosoever it is, the whatever the end. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, yes.
What I would like to mention is that, God has given, he's made the, the development of a fetus starts with the brain. So he has given importance to brain for the simple reason that it's one of the most important part of the life, and which has to be taken care by the mother and by the environment or by the people who are taking care of it. I'm having some difficulty.
You can continue talking.
Yeah. So basically, right, the thing is that, as Dr. Nitesh has said, the starts with the migration, the mitosis of the cell.
Just
okay,
mitosis. Just make it full screen.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
So along with the nutrition and the growth of the which is required for the growth, also for the development, but there are certain aspects which are also required, that, as Dr. Suchita said, is the stimulation. Okay, and what kind of stimulation? Stimuli which are going to improve the cognition, which are going to improve the emotional development, the language development, and the social development of the child. So this has to go hand in hand with each other. Okay, now the timing of the development of certain areas of the or development of the brain will depend on what kind of nutrition the child takes and what kind of the nutrient is supplied to that brain during that time. So this is also what we are going to emphasize on. So this part, I think so. So Dr. Nitesh has already taken regarding myelination, the mitosis, then the neuronal migration. He's spoken about aggregation, aggregate, the differentiation, synaptogenesis, dendrogenesis, and then the myelination. But at the same time, at certain areas, some neuronal migration is going on, but at certain areas, some amount of synaptogenesis also going on. So that's why certain areas require certain kind of nutrition, at a different. So different timing is very important of the nutrition and what the mother takes. So the basic principles of early nutrition effects on the brain development are first. Vulnerability depends on two factors. One is the timing of the nutrient details. The brain areas or the region requirement of a particular nutrient. Now, for the simple reason is, like, for example, a mother is always suggested to take iron folic acid because of the development of the neural tube, initial phase, right? In the first trimester, even before conception or after conception, once the child she conceives, she's told to take iron and folic acid. She's not told to take calcium or something like that, right? So there is a difference. Why? Because the neural tube and the neural plate is developed more because of the folic acid. The folic acid is required more at that time rather than calcium. So this is the differentiation. So time coordinated growth anatomically and functional development with other areas is extremely important. Any toxic stress and nutritional deficiency will affect the dendritic arborization of either the hippocampus or the prefrontal cortex. So such imbalance can result in significant behavioral pathologies. It can amount to even schizophrenia. So these are the bad effects that can occur to the growing brain, to a developing brain, if the right nutrition is not supplied at the right time, because at that time, at the right time for the particular part of the brain. So that is what we need to keep into mind. So I think so. This has been already. I'll just mention some of the few things. The critical process during the neurodevelopment affected by the specific nutrients. Now here during the proteins, carbohydrates, iron, copper, zinc, long chain polyunsaturated fatty acids, iodine, vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin B6, B10, all these are required for the neurogenesis, neuronal migration, synaptogenesis. And it can be at risk. If this is not there, then it can cause problems at the globally or at the hippocampus and the retina. Similarly, other example, like for example, protein, iodine, iron, copper, zinc, selenium, choline, vitamin 6, vitamin B is required for the neurotransmitter activity, concentration, and at the receptor and the reuptake level. If these are not there, then this can cause problems at globally or at the hippocampus, the nucleus accumbens, or cortex in the cerebellum. So this is why the timing of the nutrient which has been given to the mother and at the same time the fetus for the growth of that particular organ or the part of the brain is it should be known to the mother, to everyone concerned with the mother and the child. So let's go to the micronutrients and the macronutrients as well as the micronutrients that affect the brain development. Some of it, I think so, even Dr. Nitesh has already covered. Proteins. The protein energy restriction results in smaller brain with reduced RNA and DNA content. So there will be fewer neurons, simpler dendritic and synaptic heads, reduced concentration of neurotransmitter and growth factors, which we have already seen in the previous slide. Long chain polyunsaturated fatty acids. Well, this becomes the major chunk of the brain. Okay, 50% of the brain, major chunk of the brain. So DHA and arachidonic acid, docosahexaenoic acid, icosapentaenoic acid, icosahexaenoic acid. These are the fatty acids which are required for the neuronal mitosis, migration, neurogenesis, or the axonal main fatty acid composition, and fluidity also, dendritogenesis, cyanotogenesis. Okay, let's keep this slide and we'll come to the health benefits of omega-3 fatty acids. Alpha-linolic acid has been linked to a potential 40% risk reduction in the sudden cardiac death and also aids in bone resorption. Okay, and DHA is important for neurological development and organs like the brain. So retina is an important part. Retina is the last part to be developed in the brain. As we all know, it's one of the last part. It starts growing. The first comes the gustatory, the tongue, the tactile sensations, the olfactory, the ear, and finally the last is the eye. So even for the development of the eye, this DHA is extremely important. So it should be noted that the mother taking the diet has to be good in this area. So in fatty acid consumption, the diet should be rich in fats. Okay, I'll just skip this slide because most of it has been taken by Nitesh. Okay, now, okay, this is one important slide for me, which I think I would like to mention because the previous speakers add on to this. The brain DHA accumulation continues through the childhood, and even though the rate of accumulation declines, incorporation of DHA still remains high at least during the preschool years. The point is the molecule of DHA and arachidonic acid, which is there in the breast milk, is best. It keeps on increasing. It keeps on increasing during the in the term baby, in a preterm baby, and it keeps and go till the preschool years. But one which is found, one second. I'm sorry for that. Okay, so this is an important statement I make, because the DHA and the arachidonic acid which is there in the mother's milk continues to be increase in the brain of the brain. DHA continues to increase as the child grows, unlike the one which is found in other sources. So that is what I want to emphasize here. The beneficial effects of DHA on the brain are, okay, with I think so one that regarding it's the modulation of the gene expression, the modulation of the neuroinflammation, inhibition of apoptosis, inhibition of chemokine and cytokine gene expression, and modulation of most of the enzymes and the receptors and the cofactors. Okay, two terms which I like to emphasize is it's important for you. It modulates also nociception. So any toxic insult which is there during the intrauterine life which the baby suffers is protected by this DHA. So nociception is actually the noxious insult to the child's brain. What is an LTP? I think so even Nitesh has mentioned, it's basically the strengthening of the synapses. So long-term potentiation and memory formation is done by this DHA. So it helps in learning and memory. So why DHA is important? Because it causes long-term potentiation, and long-term potentiation helps in learning and memory. So that's why DHA is very important. Okay, let's go to the other macronutrients. Micronutrients. Sorry for that slide. It's a micronutrients. Iron, zinc, and iodine. Okay, as previously mentioned, they are all required. Zinc is required as a part of the RNA formation. Iron and zinc. Iron is required for the myelination and development and function of the dopamine, serotonin, and norepinephrine system. Deficiencies result in decreased intellectual capacities. Zinc is necessary for normal neurogenesis, migration, myelination, synaptogenesis, regulation of neurotransmitter release in GABA. Iodine, okay, I mean zinc, even if it can result in poor learning, reduced attention and memory. Iodine also prenatal iodine deficiency results in deficiency of neurogenesis, neural migration, dendritogenesis, cyanogenesis, and myelination. The point, okay, and the last slide again, last point is deficiency results in substantial 10 point IQ, intellectual disability, with actually even Nitesh doctor has mentioned that he says that if all these three are eradicated in the world, if there is no deficiency of all these three elements, iron, zinc, and iodine, then there would be a substantial increase in the IQ levels of the people of the community by 10 points. So this is an important statement, I think so, which even Dr. Nitesh had also mentioned. Okay, this I wouldn't again keep on repeating that same thing where the iodine, iron, zinc, selenium. So selenium is also important part as a cofactor. It acts in most of the enzymes in the myelin sheath formation. So if there is a decrease in this in selenium, there is a depression, low mood, low energy levels, anxiety, stress. Choline, again, poor memory, mental functioning, risk of stroke. And DHA, obviously, short attention span, poor ability for discrimination, and decreased concentration also adds to the disability, learning disability, and attention deficit disorders. Okay, these again, all the vitamin B1, B3, B6, B12, all are important as to increase the attention span, concentration, memory. Okay, now here I would like to emphasize more emphasis regarding the components of the milk. The colostrum secretion, which starts at the 16 weeks gestation. There are three parts where there is lactogenesis 1, lactogenesis 2, and lactogenesis 3. The lactogenesis 2 starts in the 16th once the placenta is thrown out of the during the delivery. Lactogenesis 1 starts in the first trimester itself, 16 weeks. So colostrum begins right from there. So it's very thick. It's a high density thick part of the milk, almost gel-like, generally yellow color. What's the component? More in proteins, more in lactose, less in the fats, and more in minerals and water. So compared to this, so calories, how much calories of milk, mature milk, and the colostrum is the same, 67 calories. Now the point I would like to emphasize is now the worry a pediatrician usually has is or the mothers have, that whether this one drop of milk which is there, which the baby gets in the first 2 days of life, 1 or 2 ml, 3 ml, 4 ml in the first 2-3 days of life, first day, second day, third days, whether that is sufficient. The only thing what we need to emphasize is that there is also the other brown fat which is there with the baby, and that brown fat helps in giving the rest of the calorie which the baby requires. So that is one important aspect that the participants should know, that the colostrum can suffice or the nutrient requirement and the energy requirement that is required, and that is the counseling where it starts. That is where we need to counsel the parents.
Hello.
Yeah, one sec. Yeah, components of the milk and other functions. So proteins, weight to casein ratio 90:10 in early lactation, 60:40 in mature milk, and 50:50 in late lactation. This is in the early lactation, and then obviously during the later phases of this. The milk contains beta lactalbumin, the human milk, and it's in beta alpha albumin, and in the cows it is the lactoglobulin, which cannot be digested, that is casein. So here also we need to know that even the whey content or the beta lactalbumin which is there in most of the other sources other than the human milk is not much absorbable as compared to what is there as compared to the human milk. So the breast milk, human milk, lactation counseling is of importance. There are 19 amino acids essential for human milk. Taurine develops the brain and the retina membrane stabilization. It's also it's an inhibiting forms a component of the inhibiting neurotransmitter. It's not found in the bovine milk. That should be remembered. That taurine is one of the important components of the human brain and also human milk, and it's not found in bovine milk. That's important part. Okay, which is not there in others. Growth factors. There are different growth factors. The neuronal growth factor, or the nerve growth factor, epidermal growth factors. These are different types of growth factors which are there, and the nerve growth factor is especially, it helps in decreasing the birth related injuries. Lactoferrin is the important part it helps in transport and absorption of iron, and also calcium. So lactose, human milk is higher in lactose for all the animals, of all the mammals. So that's an important natural I would say gift to humans, that it's high in lactose of all the mammals, and it's an important part of the galactolipids needed for the structural brain development. Lactose assists in absorption of iron and calcium. Fats, we have already, I think so, mentioned. I don't need to speak more on this, but one thing I'd like to mention is whatever we are talking right now about whether it's fats or carbohydrates or breast milk has more, which is going in congruence with the human physiology and with the human physiology. So that's very important. Fatty acids. Okay, now here also again I like to mention influence of the mother's diet on the milk composition and volume and composition. Again, the total volume of the milk, whatever it is, irrespective, except in extreme starvation, most of the components of the human milk are not affected by the not affected, and hence the baby gets his requirement despite the maternal starvation, except in extreme cases. So the total volume of the milk, it's not affected. Carbohydrates not affected. Proteins are not affected. Fats, yes, the total fats is affected, is not affected, but fatty acid profile is affected. So the total fat remains the same, okay, even in starvation of the mother, but the fatty acid profile changes. That means the DHA component, the AHA, the arachidonic acid component, all these keep on is affected by the maternal nutrition of what kind of food she has. Okay, so cellular component, yes, it's not affected. Human factors are also not affected. Fat soluble vitamins, there is a slight variance in the fat, obviously the fat soluble vitamins, and water soluble vitamins to some extent. Yes, deficiency can occur in maternal diet, starvation. The difference in the macronutrients between human milk and infant formula. The DHA and AID added in the infant formula can act differently in the body from human DHA and AID depending on where and in what proportion they are found in the triglyceride molecule. So the shape of the molecule of DHA, A, and arachidonic acid in the human milk is different from that in infant formula, placing them at a potential risk of slow and low absorption. So this is the difference. And the difference in the macro nutrients between the brain composition of the formula fed babies is measurably and chemically different from brain composition of the breastfed babies, with DHA levels in the formula fed baby remaining static, decreasing in the preterm and increasing in the breastfed babies. Okay, now the key message which again I would like to emphasize is the art of learning counseling. That's very important, art of learning lactation counseling. The first thing what I am mentioning is practice delayed cord clamping, encourage breastfeeding, including the colostrum. So breast crawl, I think so most of them must have heard the word breast crawl. Once the baby is born, it has to be taken like this picture shows. It has to be taken directly on the womb from on the breast with the cord intact or with the cord intact. So the baby starts taking the milk or the colostrum lies on it and starts taking. So that is what I call as breastfeeding, breast crawl. If you don't do this, then the chances, and she has to be fed immediately within the first hour. She has to be fed. She has to be fed, kept on the delivery table itself. She should be given that colostrum, and then only the mother and the baby has to be shifted to your ward. So this is one of the first steps that we need to learn, and which most of the pediatricians are missing on. Okay, the baby is kept given to the what we find is that the cord is clamped, the baby is directly given to the grandmother who has not seen, so, and the baby sees the wrinkles on the face of the grandmother instead of seeing the mother. So that is one of the deterring factors. So what it is important is that the baby is kept with the mother immediately after the cord is clamped, or directly from the cord you can keep it on the breast, and this is what we are already practicing in our hospital and most of the. So second one message which I'd like to give is that learn the art of counseling. Okay. And this has to be taught even to the nursing staff where you go for calls, or for the pediatrician's call, for the Caesar call or a delivery call. We need to learn that, and we need to teach those nursing staff which are there at that point, because they are going to be the ones who are going to look after that. So even training the nursing staff is very important for all this, for all purposes. Okay, supplementing children by the programmatic way, whichever program is going on in that particular area, for vitamin A, IF, the iron, folic acid, and zinc, and case-based approach depending on whether baby is with the mother is malnourished, or even the baby find that can be given vitamin B complex. Supplement lactating a woman with iron, folic acid, calcium post in the lactation period for 180 days, even during pregnancy, and control infectious disease by deworming. And dietary diversifications. Now, different dietary diversifications are enhancing. Okay, post 6 months, what do we do? Post 6 months, the complementary feed that is given is, we just tell the mothers, just add 2 to 3 spoons, 2 to 3 times from 6 months to 9 months. And from 9 months to 12 months, give 3 to 4 spoons, spoons of the complementary feed, which is cooked at home. Complementary feed, when I mean is home cooked foods, 3 to 4 times. So in such a way, you can increase it to whatever the baby's demands are. So first thing is we need to know is breast crawl, early initiation in the first 5 minutes, give breast crawl, the breast, then 6 months exclusive breastfeeding, post 6 months or after 6 months, 6 months to 2 years, breastfeeding with complementary feeding. Okay, and complementary feeding, as I told you, in what manner that needs to be given, and this has to be counseled. Ask the mother what she takes, what she herself takes. That is also important. Okay, when you go for rounds, what is important is that ask the mother कि आपने क्या खाया है. That is important. आपने खाया है तो ये बच्चे का आपका दूध बढ़ जाएगा और बच्चे को मिल जाएगा. So that's important. Okay, now I think so. This is enhanced food with ascorbic acid for iron, cellular iron protein for iron, zinc, and fats for retinol and provitamin A, and legumes for groundnut flour, on small amounts of fresh food for animal protein. Okay, so these are some of the dietary strategies which I mentioned. Okay, like even cooking food in cast iron vessels is also good, and home food processing like fermentation, improving the B12 which improves the B12 and the phytase activities. So the emphasis which I again want to reiterate is that learn the art of counseling the mothers during your counseling the mothers when you're attending the rounds. Emphasize more on natural, homemade, cooked food. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Santosh, I
Yeah.
think you have given very good presentation and detail about how nutrition is required for the development of the brain, and that is very important. I think now just stop sharing your screen, and then we have many questions from the audience.
Okay.
So that we will take that questions one by one. Just see your this thing. I'm sending the questions also. So first question, I think I will like to ask Nitesh. There is one question regarding that pregnant mother who is HIV positive, and the chances are there after delivery that baby may develop early brain development issues. So can it be prevented, Nitesh?
Sure, sir. Thank you so much for that question. See, when we talk about a pregnant lady with a disease, whether it is HIV or another disease, whether it is another viral disease, the implication of that are two. One is the medical implication, and second is the developmental implication, okay, or the social implication. That's how I would look at it. Medical implication having an impact on the neurodevelopment of a child, it can be negated because this is a pregnant lady on whom it has been identified that she is having HIV. Then obviously there are programs nowadays where medications are given to a pregnant lady, thereby reducing the chances of transmission of the disease itself to the child. So obviously that will help from a disease perspective. I'm talking about the medical component of it. The second component is the social and the emotional component of it, which may again form an environmental factor in having an impact on the neurodevelopment or a outcome of a child when after he's born. So in this case, I think here in this scenario, there is a major contribution from itself, the people surrounding in our Indian context. If it was abroad, I would say the social worker is a very important person and keeping the spirits high of this mother. Whereas in our circumstances, it is obviously the family or the extended family for that matter as well. For a mother, irrespective of whether it is a lady who's got HIV or no, the most important feature once the lady is pregnant is the child. She stops thinking about her own illness. She stops thinking about the family around her, and then she wants to keep this child safe. Okay, so in her mind, she has the positive component of it. It is the surroundings which, from our perspective, we encourage whoever comes for the antenatal visit, and then obviously they are sent across for a neonatal consult or a antenatal consult to us, perinatal consult as you would like it. So apart from the medical component, I would explain to the mother to be in high spirits and the surrounding people to give her a positivity. Now, once such a child is born, I'm sure this kind of implications are continuing to persist with the child as well. I mean, the social taboos, people, family members may not want to touch a child because the mother is HIV positive. They not interact with the child, not give a positive stimulation for that child, not give an environment where he is actually able to nurture himself. Again, a lot of counseling goes into it. early intervention from our perspective medically, what is it that we need to see? Sir pointed out a lot of important social red flags in the early phase of life, in the first month of life. Eye to eye contact, social smile coming in, the early milestones, they are very important. Following, fixing and following from our perspective as well, that is important, because a child who's not having a eye to eye contact, not fixing and following, is obviously a child who's actually starting to have a no positive stimulation. In one of my slides, I had shown a sensory stimulation lacking CT scan in comparison to the normal. I think the same thing would be applicable in this scenario with a HIV positive mother, and in any other scenario. HIV is probably, from my perspective, I would not think of it as a major neurodevelopmentally massive morbidity. I would rather say viral infections in the early pregnancy. They would probably the torch group of infections for that matter. And say, for example, this mother had not been actually aware of it early in the pregnancy. Now, these are the kids who would actually have a lot more morbidity. So those are the kids where these kind of interventions, these kind of early stimulations, these kind of social support would probably be a little bit more helpful.
Yes, it's nice. Now, the second question is that how to manage early brain development issues in a child suffering from neonatal epilepsy. And this is very important question, because in neonatal epilepsy, what you need to do is to first manage the seizure part. And if you manage the seizure properly, then after that, whatever the brain damage has been there, you have to stimulate that child, which are the other remaining part of the brain is there. So that is very important. So that's why first you have to first stop the seizures, because seizures are going to then affect the brain consequently. That's why you have to stop the seizures with the proper medication and proper dosage, and then you have to give the stimulation after the seizures has been controlled, or whenever they are minimized. So you have to start it early. That is very important, and it may be at NICU level. So if even at NICU level, you can give the stimulation programs, and then at the discharge also mother should be involved, as well as in NICU also mother can be involved. So there are different things that now the NICU's advice, according to the development of the child, has been prepared by the concerned authorities, and then we have to change the NICU's atmosphere for the betterment of the neonate, and that is definitely a very important thing. Then
one more thing, I think so what the previous HIV regarding HIV, I would like to also, as far as nutrition is concerned, I think so even that AFAS criteria has to be followed. These regarding the affordability, the acceptability of the child, feasibility, the sustainability, and the safety. Okay, the mother has to, or the relatives have to take a decision whether they are going to feed the child the formula of infant formula feeds, or because this is an all or none principle. Either they have to feed infant formula, or they have to feed going for the breastfeeds. Okay, despite, even if he takes a decision of feeding the child with the own human milk, nevirapine and all that has to be taken by the mother. Mother has to take, and even the baby has to be given. Even if she follows lactation milk, then the brain development is definitely not impacted. It's going to really improve. Okay, with the human milk.
Okay. Thank you, Santosh. Now, Santosh, I think I will ask the next question to you only. That what should be the dose of omega fatty acid, and is vitamin D need to be added in with the omega fatty acid?
Okay, the dose, I think so, it's clear cut that 50 milligrams of that is given in most of the books, but more than that, vitamin E is not required. Okay.
One second. I will just interfere you. The dose actually has been recommended is for 0 to 12 months. It is 0.5 grams. 1 to 3 years it is 0.7. 4 to 8 it is 0.9. 9 to 13 it is 1.2 gram. For 14 to 18 years it is 1.1 gram, and that is the recommended dose for the omega 3 fatty acid. And vitamin D definitely should be added. for the
Yeah.
development of the child.
Vitamin D has to be added for the development. I agree, but the question which your recommendation, which
Vitamin D,
yeah,
vitamin
vitamin D,
D,
yeah, vitamin D, yeah, is
they
required.
have asked vitamin D only.
Yeah, vitamin D is required. Vitamin D is required for the definitely. What we actually counsel the mothers is that the mother has to keep the baby for minimum of half an hour, 30 minutes. Okay, 30 minutes with the top, with the whatever, with the cap. She has to keep for 30 minutes per week. Okay, to enhance, or it has to be for 2 hours in the sunlight if the baby is fully clothed except for the cap. So that is the recommendation that they say that if the question is if the baby has to be kept in sunlight, this can be given answer which will help in the vitamin D absorption and the formation and the synthesis.
And what is the time which is recommended for the vitamin D absorption? Because many times what happens that early morning is advised by many people, but that is not so. So what is the timing which is required, which is recommended for better vitamin D absorption?
There is actually, there are no timings as such which are mentioned in any of the books. But one thing one thing is that in the about 30 minutes the baby has to be kept in the sunlight. Okay.
Yeah, but that is that recent guidelines by IAP also has come up, and Dr. I think Vaman Khadilkar has mentioned in that. So that it is morning 10 o'clock. So morning 10 till 1, that is the time, but it is not in the summer. But morning 10 to 1 is the timing which has been mentioned regarding the yes, Nitesh, you can answer.
Sir, about the vitamin D itself, now there are a lot of neonatal informations or data from across the world which say that in spite of extensive exposure of a baby to sunlight, the synthesis of vitamin D may not be sufficient. So now, as we all know, we have been supplementing between 400 IU to 800 IU per day for every newborn baby, at least till first year. But that is the Indian concept. A lot of the Western world, primarily in the state in North America, they are now supplementing vitamin D 800 IU up to 2 years. So irrespective of whether a child is exposed to sunlight or not, I mean, there is a definitive component or a concept of giving vitamin D supplementation. Now, whether that comes from medication or that comes from, say, for example, a formula or a nutritional supplement in which it has been added, it is up to how a family wants to give it. Say, for example, babies who are on purely breastfeeding, it is just the vitamin D additional supplement may be sufficient. And we should make sure that at least it is 400 to 800 IU. But let's say a child is on a formula which is fortified with vitamin D. In such case, we can take into account how much actually the child is receiving from that particular milk, for example, and the rest need to be supplemented. So that's how I would look at vitamin D's role for primarily bone maturity, bone development, and it does have an impact in addition along with the omega-3 fatty acid for neurodevelopmental as well.
Yes, definitely. So Santosh, how many days we should prescribe DHA and EPA combination? Is it Nitesh or Santosh? Can you tell about that?
Well, basically what I have been again emphasizing today, because we mostly concentrate on the natural things. Okay, as I've already mentioned, if the mother is, we feel that the mother is malnourished, or there's some amount of starvation which is there in the mother, maternal starvation, and we feel then such a baby, and even the baby is is not growing up to the mark. If you take the growth chart, then I think so this baby requires that kind of that kind of supplementation with DHA and EPAs. Okay, provided the counseling is adequate. Counseling is done to the mother. She comes to a follow-up clinic, and if we find that this child is not growing up to the mark that is expected, despite all the measures taken, then this child will require the additional supplementation.
Yeah. So up to 2 years, actually, I think it is better we can say about that. So there is next question is regarding that in urban areas like Mumbai, where both parents are working and child is suffering from early brain development issues and stay at creche all the day. So can you please share some important tips to counsel this type of parents? This is very good question, because nowadays it is a very big problem with the working parents. And so most important thing regarding is that it is the quality time and not the quantity of the time which parents should share. So even if parents are there with that child for 1 hour or in the morning and 1 hour in the evening, they can share that time with proper means age appropriate toys, as well as they should know how to talk to the child. They should know how to tell them the stories, and they should spend the time with the child. So according to age appropriate things, if they can do that, then definitely that helps the child, even in the working parents also. The most important part is that even in that creche also, if you ask that caretaker to do few things, they can also be a part of the stimulation program with you. So you have to involve the caretaker in the creche, as well as you have to give stimulation with the quality time, not quantity time. It is very important for the parents to give that time. And if they give that, that will definitely help the stimulation, because the stimulation definitely helps. And I've seen lots of cases, means I think I've in last 28 years I've seen more than 7 lakhs cases, and in that high risk babies we have managed them very properly. We had one recently, one neonatal epilepsy case, and in that also now that child is totally normal at 1 year and 1 month, and only thing that child is not actually independently standing on his own, but he has started doing that, and maybe within 15 days he will do that. So I think that is very important, that if you manage them properly, if the follow-up is regular, and if you give them regular advice for monthly basis regarding the stimulation program, because what we do is that we give them follow-up of the stimulation program, and we give them the list of the things to be done for this month. And then suppose 30 things to be done for this month, then if that child started doing 15, and then next month they will come, they will take again few other 15 things from our counselor, and that definitely helps them parents about development of the child, because the programs are standardized and they should be given in proper way. Yeah, Santosh.
Actually, even in your slides, you have, Dr. Suchit, you have mentioned about stimulations, a lot of stimulations with the toys. That's very important. But more so, again, as you said regarding this Krish, it's more important that it's the human connect.
Yes.
More important than the toys, because the mother can be the first toy. You know, the first bindi or the red color kumkum which is there is it's a stimulating part for the baby. So from there on, it's mostly the parental connect which is more important. The connectivity is more important. The human connectivity, the human communication which is important more so than the otherwise. Today, what the parents are doing, they're just giving the mobile phones and toys and leaving them to their own whatever. So that's important.
So first 2 years, no mobile. That is very important.
Yes.
And if we follow that, then that will definitely help them, because we are seeing a lot of communication disorder due to this mobile. And that's why first 2 years, no mobile is a recommendation by WHO, American Association of Pediatrics, and Indian Academy of Pediatrics. So that is very important. Then Nitesh, I just want to ask you one question. There are multiple drugs which may affect early brain development, but there are situations where we need to prescribe a particular drug. So what is your experience in such a situation?
Sir, this is regarding to the baby or to a mother
This is
who is still pregnant?
This is regarding to the baby.
Okay. So now the safest way is to be able to avoid the drugs, for example, some anticonvulsants and some sort of neurotoxic drugs. Again, as far as possible, if we are having an alternative, the best thing is to avoid the drugs which may have difficulty or association with neurodevelopmental difficulties. Now, if we are having a situation where we are not able to avoid, again, it is important to involve the family in decision making. We need to actually make sure that they are aware, and according to once we have discussed it, start the drug. Now again, we have to be looking out for adverse effects of it to commence. So early identification of a problem, and then accordingly, early intervention will probably be the answer to it. First, to avoid, if not, to look out for, and then intervene.
Yes, good. Now I think we'll have a few questions as a rapid fire. Just answer it in 1 or 2 minutes, in short, as much as possible. So, Santosh, what is role of Garbha Sanskar? Because that is a hot cake for today, that people want to know whether it really affects the brain development, and will you recommend it?
Okay, now this Garbha Sanskar, which is there, actually it has come from one, Sharir Sthan chapter from the Ashtanga Hruday, which was written by one Rishi called as Vagbhat during the 3rd and the 6th century. Okay, now one thing I'd like to add is that, here what are the main components is that it's regarding the, the type of diet, the meditation, yoga, okay, pranayams, okay, the right kind of food at the right time, sleeping at the right time. But all of a sudden, once in a malnourished mother who wants to, who's expecting her baby to become like Einstein or a Virat Kohli or someone like Bismillah Khan or a Bhimsen Joshi, it's not possible unless she does some tap. I call this a tap or a tapasya. Tapasya means basically what these people did many years back is that they used to practice a lot of a coordination of all the energy levels of their body with the help of the right diet, which is not there in the mothers. Eating at the right time, eating at the right, sleeping at the right time, getting up in the morning, doing pranayam, then all these things are there. When you do all these things regularly and for a considerable period of time, your energy levels are in such a way that you are able to, produce an intelligent or a well-developed child. That is the concept. So I personally recommend not Garbha Sanskar as such, but at least following these rules: eating at the right time, sleeping nicely for 8 hours, peaceful hours, doing yoga, meditation, and pranayam. Yoga, meditation have good impact on the human brain, the mothers also, and also the babies. And as you mentioned, there are some studies which have shown that whatever the baby listens to the music which is there in a food, that baby, once the baby comes out and he is even made to listen to that music, that baby can, he starts responding to that music. Okay, but Sujit sir, we need to do a lot of large trials for all these things. You cannot have a few trials. Large trials need to prove that the Garbha Sanskar is effective.
Yeah. So the most important part regarding the Garbha Sanskar is that whatever the medically proven things, they should be advised, and those who are not medically proven, they should be thrown away. That is very important part of Garbha Sanskar, and that's why then otherwise they can be harmful if there are few other practices are there in the society which may have some adverse effect. So that is important. So what are environmental factors affecting early brain development? Nitesh, can you answer this?
Yes. Environmental factors are very important. I mean, if we should look at multiple factors which can be divided probably into the parental as well as in the child's environment. For the parental environment, it is things like good nutrition, her exposure, a mother's exposure to good habits such as not having to smoke, not into alcohol. These are the positive environmental factors for a mother. Good nutrition and positivity around her. So these are the factors which will have an impact on the development of the fetus. When it comes to the baby itself, a encouraging environment, a positive stimulation, good colors, good lighting, good sound, music. These are the things which will be very important. Now, when it comes to the child's environment, things like the kind of school, this is an older child I'm talking about, kind of school he's able to go to, what is the positivity or negativity over there, fighting, those kind of things, if in case they are avoided, then obviously it will lead to a very positive environment for growth. When it comes to children who are, say, for example, having they're having some exposures in antenatal period where their development has been hampered. Now that can actually be reversed by giving a very positive stimulation. So again, parental education becomes very important.
Yes, that's nice. I think we should move on to the some older children regarding that. So, what are the recommendation for preschool and school age? Santosh, can you answer
Yeah,
this?
yeah, yeah. So these days, everyone is worried about getting his child admitted to a preschool and rather play schools and the school age, right? So the right age for a preschool is 4 completed years, and this is a recommendation. And the right age for preschool is 4 years completed, and school age is 6 completed years. Okay, so this is one dictum. But nowadays what we are saying is that even a pregnant lady is standing in the queue for the admission of her baby. This is the picture scenario. The reason is these neither does the school nor does the parent know what are the development trajectories that go, how the development go. A mother expects the child to the teachers also expect the child to know a letter like write a letter like A, sing songs. Auditory stimulation is fine, singing is fine, the expect that is expected. But writing an A at the age of 4 or 3.5 years is something which is inhuman, I suppose, because the letter A is a triangle. It comes at only at 5 completed years, 4 and 4 or 5 completed years, and that is not expected. So but the parents expect, since the मेरे मौसी का बेटा वो सब गाता है, वो सब करता है, मेरा नेबर का बेटा ये सब करता है, so this is what is expected. And they there is a expectation from the school, and there is a pressure on the teachers also. What I suggest is that the parents should visit the school before taking the admission to the child, taking the admission of the child of their child into the school. See who the authorities are, whether it is a playground, the whole ambience, the atmosphere, whether the teachers are well educated, calm, they're interested in the children, and most importantly, take consultation of the senior parents who have been there more so. So that's important before taking admission into a preschool or a play school of the child. Yeah.
Yeah. The most important thing is that IIP Preschool Education Committee in 1994 has recommended regarding these guidelines, and Dr. M.K.C. Nair was chairperson, and fortunately I was part of that team. And in that, what we have told is that preschool education is very important, that even Maria Montessori has told that it should be not ABCD or the subjects like English or maths or like that, but it should be the education which the child wants to learn. And it is actually the child who is busy in doing all activities whatever he wants is definitely a learning part of it. And suppose ये बच्चा बहुत ज्यादा घर में शरारती है, वो ये निकालता है, वो निकालता है, ये करता है, ये बहुत घर में, so that is a natural thing and that should be encouraged, and that is very important. So most important is that you don't put your child at least minimum till 3 years of age, and 3 years you can put on in nursery, and 4 years, as Santosh has told, lower KG, which is very important, 6 years first standard. And now government has also accepted these norms, and they have made a rule of this school admissions, and that is very important from the their developmental point of view. So even at 6.5 or 7 years, if that child goes to first standard, nothing is going to harm that child. That is very important. So mental developmental age is very important. So how we can identify this developmental age? So we know that there are tests like IQ, EQ, SQ. So how they are helpful? Can you tell, Nitesh?
Sir, IQ means the intelligence quotient. So that is basically a comparison of a child's ability to perform intellectually in comparison to the average. So it is basically telling us, or it is just a measure, I would say, of identifying children who are at a level which are lower than what is expected for that particular age. Okay, so now they help us in defining what kind of help the child needs. You know, if in case it is a child who's showing a very grossly low intelligence quotient, then that is telling us this child may need help with day-to-day activities as well. So he might actually be encouraged to learn those primary skills of day-to-day living, of his own living. Say, for example, a child is marginally low, then he could actually select his school activity or his profession in future according to his ability. You know, if say there is a child who's over 120, for example, IQ, who's a excellent person in terms of his ability, then you can actually encourage that child further so that he is able to bring out the advantage of his own ability. While I'm saying all this, it is probably helpful even for an average or a below average child, for us as pediatricians or us as therapists, to try and enhance or try and encourage that child to go up with his IQ. You know, therefore he is able to perform at a level higher than what he's actually born with. So IQ probably helps in identifying and helping children so that they can perform at a better level. The other question was on emotional quotient, EQ. So emotional quotient, I understand it is a understanding of an individual's ability to control or understand his own emotions and that of the others. Now, this is very important in terms of being able to interact with the other individuals. And once a child is able to interact with others, know his own strengths, know his own limitations, his performance will automatically improve. And once that improves, his ability to overall do his day-to-day work, his ability to excel in a field will increase. Social quotient, the last question, SQ, it is an individual's ability to socialize, or it is a measure of ability to socialize, understand what is correct or not correct in terms of social interaction. I think some of these SQ tests are also useful in identifying disorders such as autistic spectrum disorder, in ADHD, in pragmatic semantic disorders. That is where there is a role for tests for SQ, something like a Vineland social maturity scale.
Yeah.
Again, that is very helpful in identifying these disorders. So there are scientific ways of helping these children identify the disorders and therefore move forward in trying to help them.
Thank you. I think I will summarize the session. The most important thing is that regarding the early brain development, you must actually know what is the mechanism of brain development and how it occurs from conception to the first 1000 days, as Nitesh has very well explained regarding the myelination, sorry, synaptogenesis and all. So that is very important. And after recognizing that, then our role is to prevent the infection. Our role is to immunize the child physically as well as emotionally. Then our role is to give age appropriate toys. Our role is to advise regarding the environment of the child. And then most important part is regarding the nutrition. So nutrition is also plays very important part. And as Santosh has explained very nicely regarding that breast feeding as well as role of DHA as well as role of other important nutrients like iron, zinc, all other nutrients. So these are very important. And if we go through all this early stimulation and early intervention, and we start intervention from birth or even before that, if mother is advised by the gynecologist, then that definitely helps and it will actually move that child to their greatest potential. And that is very important. So thank you very much, Brinton, Mr. Vijay, as well as Mr. Mishra, then Asif and Gupta Sarji, Ashwin, and my co-panelist Nitesh as well as Santosh for very nice presentation as well as very good discussion regarding early child development. Thank you very much all.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for sharing your vast knowledge and experience with us today. Now I request Mr. D.P. Gupta to please share the vote of thanks.
Yeah. Sir, at Brinton, we are very thankful for our eminent speakers, Dr. Suchit Tamboli, Dr. Nitesh Agrawal, and Dr. Santosh. I am very sure today's session will add lot of value in clinic practice of the pediatricians. At Brinton, it is our constant endeavor to keep pace with the changing trends in the field of pediatrics by innovative products and dissemination of the knowledge. Once again, we are also thankful for all the doctors who have spared their valuable time in
Yes.
Sunday evening. So
Yes,
once
yes,
again, sir,
that is
thank you
very
very much, and soon we will meet you in your clinic, sir. Thank you very
Yes.
much.
Thanks a
So
lot.
nice of you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
very much.
great pleasure, sir.
Thank you
Thanks.
so
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, doctor. Thank you very much.